Microsoft Word 2003 page formatting. We started with the itty bitty little characters. We moved up to the paragraphs and saw how we could use those sections of text. And now we are moving up to bigger and better things, pages and even sections of pages. If you want to say we need to give you a break on some of this stuff that we're talking about, I would agree. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to give you some breaks, page breaks. How do I stop text from typing in on this page and then continue on to a next page? We can also do it from by section. We can take a grouping of pages and create sections and apply different formatting to them. Pretty cool. And hey, on those pages, we got white space, and we've got text and graphics and stuff. How do I set the margins so that way the text doesn't run too far to the left or too far to the right or from the top and the bottom? Or can I take my page and turn it on its side? Well, we can do that with orientation. Anytime you start off with Word 2003, you got a blank piece of paper. Now in this case, I've filled in this blank piece of paper with text. So anytime you look at it, you're going to have the white space, which in this case you can see is like around here. And then you have text or graphics or some things that are filling in. Now we can format how this appears by doing things with paragraphs, which we've seen. Even your characters and your text itself by formatting it, which we've seen. We've added columns, which you've seen. But one thing that we haven't really talked about is how to manipulate the page itself. Things like page breaks, margins, the orientation of the page. And when I say orientation, I mean, is it in portrait mode where the longest part of your page is up and down, vertical. See, it goes up and down. Or you can go to landscape mode where the largest portion of your page is across the top. And so you can do it like a landscape. In other words, if you have a piece of paper handy, pick it up, hold it up and down with the short side is on top and bottom, then switch it over and turn it 90 degrees and you see what landscape mode looks like. And that's the difference between portrait and landscape, which we'll see. But the other thing that we'll notice is that we can take care of the section of the page. We can do the page breaks. Now we haven't mentioned it too much before. We kind of highlighted it briefly, but down here you have your status portion of your document. We're on page 1. We're in section 1. We're on page 1 of 4, so that way I know I have more than one page. I'm at 2 inches down. I am on line 5, and I'm in column 51. So if I move my cursor over, you can see my column there moves on the page. And if you ever remember the old days with your typewriters, you remember that you used to be able to set, how wide that was. So here we have text, lots of text, and so I can see what my margins are. But if you notice something, that Word by itself automatically, when it hits the end of the margin, it goes ahead and does what they call a soft paginate or soft page break, which means when it hits the end, it automatically just starts putting the text down below. Now we can change that. If you notice, this is still in the same paragraph here. We've got vestibulum, usamo duidon, whatever the Latin is. By the way, to get this, if you ever wondered, how in the heck did Chris get all that text? And did he type it by himself? Absolutely not. You can go out to a website called a Lorem Ipsum generator. You can go to Google and just type in Lorem Ipsum generator, and it'll take you to a website. They have tons of free ones out there that will ask, how many pages of this stuff do you want? And so it'll go ahead and generate page after page after page, and then you can just copy and paste it in, and you can pretend like you have that text in. So enough about Lorem Ipsum. But you notice I said I've got this paragraph that starts here and then it kind of sticks over here on the other side. Well, what if I want to have this part of the paragraph show up down here? Well, one of the ways I can do that is by putting a hard page break. So I go to the end of this paragraph, and what I'm doing, you can't see it, but you have to believe me, I'm hitting at the same time Control and Enter. That's the keyboard shortcut. Now go ahead and do that. And when you do that, you'll notice it said, okay, I am going to drop it down here and start the new page. And you still have white space here. Notice if I come here and I hit the down arrow, it moves immediately down over here to the next page. I have a hard page break. So if I come up here and I show all my tools and one of the things I've done, here are my paragraphs, my spaces, and here See, it says a page break. This is considered a hard page break or a manual page break. I put that in myself. See, if I scroll down to the next page, notice it doesn't say anything about page breaks. It just says, hey, this is the end of the page, and I'm done with you. So it moves on to the next page. Whereas when I do a hard page break, I have it right here. Now, how do I get rid of a hard page break? And by the way, if you're ever wondering, let me turn this off here. If you ever come here and you go, whoa, wait a minute, there's some white space here, and then it starts down here. I wonder why that is. Well, the way that you can find out is simply by doing the show hide, and you say, oh, they put a page break in there. Well, how do I get rid of that page break? Well, it's quite simple. If you notice right here, all I need to do is hit backspace. That takes care of the paragraph, and if I hit backspace one more time, let's see if I can do this while showing you the page break going away. I hit it, and then boom, there it goes. Notice the page break has now disappeared. I'm now after my paragraph setting here, and I've lost my separation that I just originally put in. Now you can also, you don't have to do it by just hitting Control and Enter. You can also insert breaks as well. And that's the next thing we need to show you, because you can also do section breaks, page breaks, all kinds of different types of breaks. So give me a break. Let's show you what it is. So if I hit Insert here, and notice it says Break. If I click Insert Break, it says what type of break do you want? Do you want a page break, a column break, a text wrapping break, and then you have section break types. Now, section breaks are literally identifying a part of your page or document and where you put page settings, things like orientation or margins. But you want these to be different from those of the rest of the document. Let's say you've got like these 4 pages, and you want to take the middle 2 and make them landscape oriented. So you can say that on the next page, I want to make that a new section of my document. So I click OK. So now I have a new section of my document. I got my soft page break. It says, okay, this is now a new page. Now watch this. If I go in here and select here, I'm on this page, I can now make a change to this page, and it will only affect this section and not this section up above. So let me go over here and make sure I'm on the right page. Yes, I'm on page 2 of 4. And I need to go up, hit File, and we'll see this a little bit in more detail. Page Setup, which deals with how I have my page set up. Here's my margins, paper, and layout. And let's say I want everything after this first title page to be in landscape mode, because I'm in a different section. So I click Landscape. Notice here we see our long part on the top, and then my short top, and then say Apply to this section. I can go this point forward or the whole document. Since I've got a section break here, it suggests I do it for this section. I click OK. Now look at this. Here I see my landscape. Look how long this is. But look up above. Check this out. Hey, wait a minute. This isn't landscape up here. Why? It's a different section. Here I have my first page. It's in portrait mode. I drop down to my next section, and it's in landscape mode. And notice, and I can now come over here, or I'll come down here to the bottom of this page, and I can come up here to my format or insert, break, and I say I want to do a section break on the next page. So I go ahead and do that. I click OK. So now I have, this is a new section over here, and this is landscape, but I want to come up here to File, Page Setup, and now I want it to be portrait for this section. So I click Portrait, and now check this out. I've got one landscape for this section. I've got for this, I am in portrait mode, and I scroll up, and then my first page is still in portrait mode. So I've now created these different sections for my document. And so my History of Instruments documentation for Acme Incorporated will now have different sections, and I can use different types of page settings for this particular document. Now, one thing that we probably need to remind you about these section breaks, because a lot of people say, hey Chris, when I noticed when you were up here, let me go ahead and come down to one of these areas. Remember, I went ahead and I was over here on this page, and then I said section break on the next page. And that's how that kind of kicked it over here. But there are different types of section breaks. Let me show you. If I go Insert Break, you've got your page breaks, your column breaks, your text wrapping breaks, and these are your page breaks. But section break types, you have next, continuous, even page and odd page. Now, just in case you guys are planning, or gals are planning on taking your Microsoft Office User Specialist or Mouse Mastery, one thing they will expect you to know is what each one of those text breaks or section break types do. The next page will start the following text on the next page. Makes sense. Continuous will then create a section break without affecting your page break. So if you already have page breaks in place, it'll just go on to the next one. That's a continuous. Even page will force a break to the next even numbered page. So you can get some strange behavior if you do something like that. And then, of course, you've got the odd page, which forces a break to the next odd numbered page. So let me go ahead and cancel out of this. And let's scroll down here. And you remember, we went and we created a new section right here for this particular page. Well, let's say I come right here. And I put my cursor right here under Vivamus. And so I come up and I want to insert a break, and I say I want to do a continuous. If I do continuous, watch what happens. I click OK. Nothing's changed. I've kept my page breaks. See? That's what my continuous. But yet, if you look down here, this is section 4. I select up here, that's section 3. So it protects, the continuous protects my section breaks. Now, of course, if you go and you show all, see where it says section break continuous? All I need to do to get rid of that is come over here and then just hit delete or backspace, and that'll take care of the section break. Or, and because I just did it, I can just simply go up and do undo insertion. And so now notice I'm on section 3 again here, not section 4, section 3, section 3. So you can see that right there. Now let's try one of the even pages. I'm currently on page 3, so this should work pretty cool. I hit insert, break, and it says, do you want an even page or an odd page? I'm going to go ahead and do an even page. Watch what happens this. I click OK. Now watch. It went ahead and it dropped down and it created it on the next page, because this would be what? The next even page, right? So let me go ahead and undo that, and let's watch what happens this time. If I do it on an odd page, you can get some odd behavior sometimes, but let's see what happens in this case. I always love doing this because every once in a while something happens and I go, hey, that's weird. It's never done that before. In this case, though, we put it on Vivamus. We say we want it on an odd page. We click OK. Look what happened. I now have 5 pages. And so it created now a 5th page, and it added that information and created the sections for me. Page 3, and then look at here. I'm on page 5 of 5. What happened to page 4? Well, guess what? If I come over here on section 3 and start typing information, eventually it'll punch down to a page 4. Strange, weird behavior, I know. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, that could really just blow my whole document to shreds. That's why it's very careful that you understand how these section breaks work. So let's go ahead and undo that one. We'll come back to normality here where we have consecutive pages. Now, I showed you just before that how we can change our orientation, whether we go portrait or whether we go landscape. So now the one thing you might say is maybe I want to change the margins, because that also affects how much white space I have over here. So I come up and I again go to File, Page Setup, and here you can see I'm currently in portrait orientation, and then if I want to, I can go to landscape orientation for this, but up here is where you have your margins. Your top margin right now currently is 1 inch from the top of the page, and the bottom is 1 inch from the bottom of the page, and they kind of show you kind of what that looks like. It also says I have 1.25 inches from the left and 1.25 inches from the right. I have 0 inches for my gutter. My gutter position is left. That'd be over here, my little gutter. And so it's just saying, look, I have 0, I don't have a little space or a gutter there. Some people will put a gutter because you're going to put hole punches in the side here. And you can put it on the left or you can put it on the right, wherever you want to do it. The left, or you can put it on the top, I should say. Left and top. So here, left and top for the gutter position. It depends on, if you put the punches in here or on the left. So now, let's say I want to change my top margin. And remember, it's only going to apply to this section. See down here in my preview. If I want to do it for the whole document, I'll just say the whole document. Why don't we do that? Top margin is going to be 0.7 inches. I hit tab to go over the bottom. 0.7 inches. Now look at what it's doing down there. It's showing you, as I change this, that the margins are going to change. So now I've got 0.7 inches on the top, the bottom, the left, and the right. Some people don't like that because you're not used to seeing the same margins on the left and left and right as the top and bottom. It all depends on the layout, the rules, how you like to do it. I think there's probably books written on how to use the margins to make your books look good, but that's okay. So we'll say we're going to do multiple pages. That's fine. We can also we can mirror our margins on one side. We can do 2 pages per sheet. We can even do book fold. These are some great ways to do multiple pages and make it look more like a book, more like a 2 pages. If you do a book fold, what it does is it puts, if you're doing the landscape mode, it'll put enough space in between so that way you're able to fold it over and make it look book style. So we'll stick with normal for right now. We click OK. Now watch this. Oh wow, that really affected how things look on my whole document. Now I'm on page 1, still in portrait mode here, but now look at how wide my text has gotten because I took it to 0.7, 0.7, 0.7, so we have that all set up. Now if I scroll down here to my landscape page, notice, wow, now I have 0.7, 0.7 inches all around it, and of course that gives me more space here, and then eventually down to this. Because I've shrunk my text, it sucked all that text up onto these other pages. I know that's not a technical term, but I think you get the point. It's moved all the text up because I changed the margins. And sometimes changing margins, as I scroll up here, is a good way to make sure that you fit a paragraph or a section onto one page. You can change the margins a little bit, maybe take 1/10 of an inch off, and that way it'll move the text up and you'll be able to fit everything onto one page. So that's one of the cool things that we can do. Now, what are some of the other things on that page setup dialog box that we need to know? Well, number one, you can see that we also have the different types of paper. Now this deals with typically whatever printer you have. Is there a default tray or a bin? Are you doing manual feeds, bin 1 or bin 2? And where you put the paper source. Maybe your first page you would want a manual feed because you've got some kind of what do you call it, letterhead for the first page, and then for the subsequent ones you want them on just plain white paper without the logo at the top. Well, you could say I want to do a manual feed or bin 1 for that, and then all the other pages will come from the other page, the white pages. Whatever you could do, you can apply that to this section as well, and print options will take you out to whatever printer that you have set up. There's also the layout. When you click on layout, it says the section start is on a new page. You can do continuous, new column, even page. This is if you continue to use those section breaks manually, or if you just if you want Word 2003 to do that. We also have headers and footers, which we will see in the next video. And if we want them different on the odd and even pages, different on the first page, how far from the edge they are, our vertical alignment, and again, the preview. That's one great thing about these dialog boxes. A lot of them give you this preview option so you can see kind of what's going to happen there. You've got line numbers if you want to add them, borders for the entire page. Remember when we did borders and shading, we said you could apply it to the whole page. If I click on this, it'll say, it just takes you to the borders and shading page border particular one, and it'll allow you to do it. So we can cancel out of that. So again, really good stuff for us to manipulate how much white space we got and how much text we have on the screen, as well as how we can divide up our text and our documents into different sections, so that way we can apply different page formatting to those particular sections. Now we might have thought at the beginning of this video that we're kind of stuck with how the text looks on our pages, even though we can do some paragraph formatting and character formatting, but no. Instead, we have the ability to insert page breaks where we can break our pages text up. We can also gather together a whole bunch of pages and create sections, and we can break that up and then apply different formatting to the particular sections. Remember, if you are going to take that test, do know the difference between continuous, next, even, and odd. And then we had our page margins and orientation. We said, you know, it depends on how far you want your text to go, to the left or to the right or to the top to the bottom, and even do you want to take your page and turn it on its side, maybe for some sort of PowerPoint presentations and you want to print notes and some other things to match the slides. You could do that. And in fact, if you take our PowerPoint video series, you'll see how we can do that with our notes pages. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.